Hey, welcome to the No Life Kings podcast. I'm Draves.
I'm Case.
And coming to you in issue 31, we've got some news updates from Marvel/Disney, DC/Warner. We've got news from some other companies that's going on right now. And we've got our main topic, which is talking about the Predator franchise. Kicking off the news right now, in the Marvel Disney world, seems like Hawkeye started filming in New York City.
Yeah, there were some photos of them, when I say them, Kate Bishop and Hawkeye, whose name right now escapes me for some reason, running down to a subway. So I guess they started filming. The big thing is, well, I don't know if we knew Kate Bishop was going to be in it yet. So that's the kind of solidifies that. And she's being played by Haley Steinfeld, which I think Steinfeld, which you pointed out is from Bumblebee, which best live action Transformers movie, I would say.
I'd say that's right.
Maybe we should have a whole episode about Michael Bay someday.
So, Case, I'm less familiar with like the Hawkeye character. Who is Kate Bishop?
Well, that's what I was about to go and explain. So I'm not sure I actually know the truth of who Kate Bishop is, because I don't know Hawkeye very well either. Only that during the last 6 years, Matt Fraction, one of my favorite writers, he wrote a series for Hawkeye, and it was one of the things that I think really liked about it was it took Hawkeye as a normal human being. Because that's what he is, right? He doesn't have those special powers. He doesn't have any mutant powers. He's just a human being that's really good at shooting a bow. And it basically put him in New York City. And the first issue had it where it was him, Spider-Man, and Wolverine being attacked by something. I can't remember what it was. And the first two panels, he's knocked unconscious with broken bones because he's not he's not super powerful. And then he wakes up in the hospital a few days later with a concussion. And then basically the whole story is him and trying to defend his apartment complex from some Russian mobs. Anyhow, in the story, Kate Bishop shows up to nurse him back. So it seems like she's a protege of his. So she's like the next Hawkeye, the Hawkeye in training. From basically what I understand from this series, I don't know what her background is other than she's the Hawkeye in training. And in fact, in the Matt Fraction book, she took over the storyline for a while and is basically the female Hawkeye, I guess, if you want to say it in a bad way.
So it's interesting because I feel like
I think she comes from a rich family too.
I feel like, when you see sort of Hawkeye with his daughter at the beginning of Endgame, you kind of get the feeling that she was going to take, that was sort of like the mentorship that was happening, but I guess not.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I agree. Whenever they showed her shooting the bow and stuff, it's like, oh, maybe it's going to be Kate Bishop. Unless it is, and it's not going to go based on the stories, because I was right. She is from a rich family, from Manhattan family, and with the boarding school and all this stuff. And she was part of the Young Avengers. So she basically became uncomfortable with her family's wealth and wanted to help society.
Because there's no way that wealth could help society.
No, you have to dress up like a bat and, try to scare the evil into
Make them fear the night.
Yeah. But yeah, so because it is kind of like a bat. Well, she doesn't really have my parents were killed. Just seems that she hates her money because her parents are just, using it to money spenders. I lost my train of thought there. Anyhow, yeah, so she was in the Young Avengers. She actually didn't meet Hawkeye until Civil War. And then that's when he started training her. Like I said, I don't really know much about her other than the storyline that Matt Fraction wrote. I mean, I'm cool with him having a trainee, an equal. And that's one thing I think in the Fraction book that was really cool is it wasn't like she was using him as a mentor. She was more like his confidant. It's like that whole world. If you meet someone who has the same skill sets as you kind of play off them with your problems, right? Where
kind of like how you and I met.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's kind of like that kind of relationship where he might be the better bowsman, but she's a little better at something else. So maybe he's training her that way, but he's not really a mentor. They're more confidants. I think it played off at least in the Matt Fraction run more like Clint and Black Widow.
Oh, interesting. I think that, what would also just be really interesting to me, and I think we talked about this, but I would love to see if that series was just focused on his time as Ronin, just him going John Wick on people. So that would be so much fun. Much fun.
I just want to say Matt Fraction again, I guess. But in his storyline, when she shows up, it is more like to pull him back from the brink when Kate Bishop shows up. So it could even be start off with his Ronin-ness, right? And him going down this dark path. And the part we're seeing is when she shows up to kind of pull him back. But it's
Oh,
also after the end game. So, well, we don't know when it takes place, but assuming it's after end game, his family's back. So maybe. But also, what kind of PTSD would you have your whole family disappear for 5 years and you went on a murdering spree because of it?
Moving on, then it
Yeah.
looks like Willow has casted leads.
Yeah. Was it Ellie Bamber? Bamber? That's from Nocturnal Animals. Kelly Spenny from The Craft Legacy. A movie I was really excited to watch, by the way, but never did. And Aaron Kellyman from Solo.
No, so my question here is,
What's Willow?
Willow, this is a remake of the 90s movie?
I think it's a series based on the 90s movie. And I think it might have been an 80s movie. Yeah.
Oh, was it in the 80s?
I think it was. It had Brad Pitt in it, right? So
Brad Pitt was in Willow?
It was 88, by the way. Oh, sorry, Val Kilmer. The movie had Val Kilmer in it. The main character was Warwick Davis was the big one. Yes, it was 88. It was basically a fantasy movie, right? Except without the standard hero being a strongman. So yeah, so the series that they're filming, it's for, I think it's for HBO Max, maybe.
I thought it's for Disney Plus.
Oh yeah, it is for Disney Plus. They do own Willow.
So like, think that. So it's interesting to see they've casted 3 female leads. Have they? Do we have anything on the male leads? Are there male leads? Is it like
Warwick Davis is back?
And it is a sequel to the movie.
Yeah, because Warwick Davis is back as Willow. So he's definitely in it, and then those 3. So we don't have any information other than that. It's basically a dwarf farmer who does magic is what the title of the description right now is, right? There's not much other than that. So Willow was an epic story. I actually really liked it because it was focused on the non-strongman, and in the 80s it was, and we're probably talking about this a little bit in Predator. A lot of stuff was Conan, right? It's like, oh man, you have to be Arnold Schwarzenegger to be a fantasy hero.
Yeah, for sure.
And this was more focused on, no, you can use your wits and intelligence.
Like Stallone, Schwarzenegger, like that era.
Yeah.
It was all like those strongmen.
And I think the original Willow, wasn't it directed by, well, it was Ron Howard, but it was written by George Lucas.
Like, just think about Sylvester Stallone. He had the Rocky franchise and the
Rambo
franchise, both strongmen, right? Like,
yeah. Well, I would argue the Rocky was a little, he wasn't as big as he was in Rambo. I think Rambo was a reaction to Commando with Schwarzenegger.
That's true. And also Rambo 1 is a very different movie from Rambo 2.
It's a PTSD and treating
like
veterans
it's a much
like
more
garbage.
subdued film.
Yeah. I mean, violent. Yeah. It's like, well, I think it's like 2 people die in the first Rambo. The guy who falls from the helicopter and gets blamed for the murder, which he wasn't involved in. And then the other one was the guy at the end, the bad sheriff. Only 2 people that die in that movie, which is crazy to think of Rambo.
It's funny if, because when you're a kid, like, you sort of like, you watch the movies that are on TV first. So for me, it was like Rambo 2, Rambo 3, right?
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, I wonder what Rambo 1 was like. And I assumed it would just be like the other man. I was like, oh, this is very different. This is a very different tone from like the other films. But yeah, anyways, not to sort of get distracted there.
Oh, I was just going to say, yeah. So Willow got, I think what's interesting about this is right now there's only 4 leads and 3 of them are female leads. So it's definitely not going to be the Willow cast, or at least following the Willow story, because it was all like a male group. But I mean, that's cool. And I think these actresses all seem pretty good. I think I just remember Aaron from Solo. And like I said, I wanted to see Craft, the Legacy, but that's just because I like the first Craft. Anyhow, that's all it was. I think we should move on.
Yeah, moving on to the DC Warner updates.
Yes.
So we got Wonder Woman 1984. Yeah, it's going to come out on HBO Max, only paid subscriptions on Christmas Day.
Yeah, so I think that's the big news, is the fact it's paid only. So people are like, oh, I'll sign up for HBO Max for a month and get to watch this movie. And I think the big thing is, oh, no. We're trying to get subscriptions. I'm curious if that's going to be like, oh, you have to sign up for a year subscription to see it. Because
I don't think so, but I don't know.
I mean, a year subscription is only $80, right? So
yeah, I mean, $80 if you just want to watch Wonder Woman is a lot of money. Like,
you do it for James Bond.
I do 50, maybe 80, maybe if I own the movie afterwards, sure.
Well, it's 80 plus you get all the other HBO Max stuff, right? It's not only for Wonder Woman.
Sure, I guess that's true, but like, if they can get me James Bond for $50 and I own the movie,
I understand.
Just generally, if there's a movie I want to see and it's $50 and I own the movie, I will never go to a movie theater again.
Well,
I might even pay for more just to not deal with the hassle of having to go to the theater.
Yeah, well, good news for you. Warner also announced that all the movies that were slated to be released in 2021 will be on HBO Max. And
it's happening.
It's happening. You're gonna experience your I'm not going to movies. Which, again, I'm happy for this because of the current environment we're in, but I feel I want to see Dune in a theater so bad.
So if I know that I don't have to go to a movie theater, I will buy a new TV.
It's just not the same. I know we've had this conversation. It's just not the same. I'll watch them. We'll see. I would have to get a bigger wall. I guess I have to change my basement into a theater, or buy a new house, or build a theater.
That would convince me to go buy like a 65-inch OLED TV, and I guess my Sonos Beam is good enough, so I probably wouldn't upgrade the sound, but that would convince me that to go get a new TV if I know that I'm just not going to theaters anymore.
So, what happens if I built my own personal 6-person theater? Would you come to my theater?
Yeah, I'd come to your theater.
Okay. We only have popcorn though. We don't have soda or pop.
I'll go to American Movie Case.
What if I got sponsored by Coca-Cola and you can only drink Coca-Cola while we're in the theater?
Is there going to be like a Coca-Cola ad before the movie?
Yeah, it's gonna be, welcome to the movies. Yeah. Come drink my Coca-Cola. I don't know what song this is. Yep.
I just picture Case doing a dance and
I was kind of doing a little dancing when I was singing that. So it's a good thing we don't have video yet.
Yeah.
Dude. And also gonna have an intermission, just so you know. I'm just gonna cut the movie in the middle, splice it myself.
Look, and I know we have covered this on multiple podcasts. But look, you can pause, you can eat whatever you want.
But you don't focus.
You're not limited to whatever options they have, right?
Yeah, but I told you that if you play the I'm a jerk, I just carry my own food in and my own drinks into theaters anyhow. But there is a difference. I'd like not being able to pause. I think there's a contract with theaters with me let me rephrase this. If I'm watching with friends. So yeah, maybe I'm solo watching, it's fine. But if hey, Draves, let's go watch the new Dune movie so we can do an episode on it. Come on over. It's it allows for conversations to happen. It allows for it kind of which takes me out of the experience, if you know what I mean. Imagine watching Batman vs Superman at home with a friend versus the theater. Well, I didn't see it in the theater, but at home with a friend. We'd just been mocking that from the very beginning, right? It would have seen the movie. It would have been making fun of it. And I think there's something to be said about sitting there as a group of silent people watching a movie from start to finish.
So you're saying that the only purpose of a movie theater is for bad movies?
It's for the social contract. No, it's for good movies too. Because I don't also want to be watching Endgame and have my friend who's not as well versed in the movies as me elbow me and be like, "Who's that person?" And me have to be, "All right, well, hang on, let me explain who Black Panther is." Right? Where at the theater, they're not going to do that. But I think it's that I want the theater there for that social contract of you're not supposed to talk to her in a damn movie.
We're gonna move on at this point to other topics, but just so you know, there's a long-standing rift between Case and I on the value of theaters going forward. And that I just think it's time for us to just move to home entertainment.
When theaters come back, I want us to do something where we'll watch 2 different movies that come out that same year. One in the theater, one at home.
Do you know anybody that owns a theater?
Yes.
Could we do a live event of some kind?
Probably. I know 3 theater owners.
Okay.
But yeah.
Well, so when the world reopens,
we'll do a theater event, and then
we'll do a theater event, and then I will have to awkwardly explain my stance to the theater owner directly.
No. I'm saying then we do a movie at home, and maybe even the same movie, and tell me if it's the same. But it can't be the same movie because it has to be initial. We'll figure something out. Some way to test this theory. How about that?
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
So what other news we got?
So it looks like Oscar Isaac has been tapped to play Solid Snake in a Metal Gear Solid movie, or at least this is a rumor.
That's what I've seen too. I don't know. Again, I don't know much about the Metal Gear Solid movie. I just also heard that. I don't know if this is like a Dreamcast thing or if this is reality. To have Oscar Isaac.
What's the source on this?
I forget actually. My randomness.
Okay. So basically, Case thinks that Oscar Isaac should play Solid Snake.
I read it somewhere. I almost said Newsweek, but that's totally not right because that has nothing to do with movies.
You know who I always thought should play Solid Snake is actually Christian Bale.
So,
for some reason, I don't know why.
Never mind. I almost said that he's too. I hate this. I don't know how to say this, but he's not gritty enough. I guess is the way I'm trying to go for. But that's just because I imagined him as, playing Bruce Wayne or playing the American Psycho. Things where like he's supposed to be a non-gritty character, like, millionaire, pretty boy.
I mean, Machinist was pretty gritty.
Yeah, I guess so. But I'm talking about like, I don't know how to explain this. It's like that strong man, but he's a gritty strong man. Like Thor, for example, Chris Hemsworth, super strong dude, but he's not gritty. Where like you want someone more that's like been through strong man that's been through the meat grinder kind of feel for Solid Snake, I feel. But anything can be done with the magic of movies. But I also don't know the Metal Gear Solid series well enough to know what this movie can be about. Because isn't there like 6 different snakes and they're all clones of each other or something? In the middle.
So just to give you an idea of like, I played the original NES game and I loved it.
Yep, you killed the Metal Gear.
I was really young, but I still remember that being like the first game where it's like, oh, I just don't like shoot things and jump on things. Like this actually like seems like somebody thought about this game. Like it was a very clever game.
I feel like I need to talk to you about Super Mario Brothers and the design of Board 1 and the incredibleness of that design. If you didn't think about that game.
Oh, it looks like we have a topic for the next show.
It's a video topic. It would be kind of hard to do.
And so, I then played, like I was an N64 kid, so I never played like, Metal Gear Solid. I never played Sons of Liberty. I never played Snake Eater. Yet for some reason I rattle off these names as if I have. I then never played Phantom Pain or Ground Zeroes. And so I guess I shouldn't say that. I played a very small amount of Phantom Pain. I played a very small amount of Metal Gear Solid years later on the PS3, like via emulation. I think some of it's just the demands of being an adult and just how much time you have. But I never really got to play it. But like, look, it was always just like it was always really interesting. Everything I read about the franchise was really interesting. The game's got great reviews. Like, I would be excited to see a movie. I think I would also just be excited at this point just to see if somebody could just do a supercut on YouTube. I'd be very happy to watch that.
So I played the first one. Didn't really play much other, but be aware these games are like they're very psychedelic on their plot and story.
Okay.
Like there's like weird time things happen. You see yourself because you don't know that you're a clone of the big boss or something like that. And there's even one of the Metal Gear Solids, you end up not even playing as Snake. Even though you
play as Raiden?
Yes, you play as Raiden. Like it's like this weird. Basically, that's what.
Why do I know that?
See, apparently you know more about the game than I do. But it's like the big thing about Hideo Kojima is like the way he takes his storytelling and it's almost like bringing art to games, right? But it's also bringing art to a game that's like designed to be, sneak around and shoot people in wars. But like there's this like artisticness he brings to it that brings it to the next level, right? In fact,
For sure.
I played Phantom Pain when it came out because it got some really good reviews, right? And I didn't really play any other. I might have played Ground Zeroes. I can't remember, but it's because everyone's raving about it. And again, the problem that comes with this game, it is like a very open world game. It's a very like go and take this piece to unlock the part of the map. You can kind of follow the storyline also, but I'm really not into those type of games. We've had this conversation many times. But this game is set in the 80s. I think 84 it takes place. And all the music for it is so perfect for the 80s. Like they actually get real songs from the 80s. and it
Huh.
feels so much like an 80s action film in it. Like it feels like you're playing a 80s action film. It is like this incredible achievement just from that standpoint. And like it like almost brought me back to like, I actually went out and bought some albums I lost at some point because of, I was like, wow, I forgot about the song. Oh, the songs look great. Oh, I can't wait to come back on when it comes in the game again. Like the soundtrack was incredibly perfect for the game. Otherwise, I mean, I enjoyed playing it, but it was a game again where I just kind of fell off of it because it's an open world game and I didn't want to go and get the 16th thing. But it had like weird things like, it would be really cool seeing a movie. This game had, you had these balloons that you could, so you basically had a base that was an oil rig, right? And to get gear back to your base, you had these parachute balloon, weather balloon basically things where and every time you saw a gear or a dead body, you could attach it to it and it would shoot up into the air and then a plane would come and grab it. And so you had these like really messed up scenes where you could like eradicate a body, put a thing on it, sucks the body up in the air, and you see your plane grab it. Then you'd like take a Jeep and put a Jeep up in the air once you upgrade it to like the next level and stuff. It's like really weird. Anywho, I would probably see the movie though because of the style that the games are made in. It's like it seems like a game that could be pretty well made into a movie, but there has never been a good video game movie. So speaking of bad movies,
out with a case.
no, I wasn't. It's your news story.
So it seems like the first 19 James Bond movies are now free on YouTube to watch. How long this will go on, I don't know. Only Google knows, I guess. But this is pretty interesting just from like the standpoint of, like the James Bond franchise is pretty popular IP, and just to see it like free to play on YouTube is kind of amazing. I'm guessing I haven't watched it, but I'm guessing they have ads in it. Maybe it's just like maybe in some ways it's not really different than like a broadcast TV play where I guess it's still MGM that owns them, like just gets money.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully since I pay for YouTube Red or whatever it's called, I won't have ads. But also, will I watch them? Probably not, because again, I'm not a fan of James Bond. Is this for like because of Sean Connery dying?
But then it's more than the Connery movies.
Yeah, that's true. Huh. Curious. There are some. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think I've watched most. I think it was during. Not Daniel Craig was fine. I think Pierce Brosnan stuff, kind of, where I fell off. Some like Sean Connery stuff, even though it has some problematic stuff in it for current day. All I remember, I swear, didn't one of them end where he got married and then some car drove up and shot his wife?
Yeah, that's on Her Majesty's Secret Service.
Yeah. For some reason, that's the one. Every time someone mentions James Bond, I remember that, and that's my whole statement about James Bond. It's over. Move on.
We disagree here. I'm very excited for No Time to Die.
Get a new Bond.
Case is not, but
retire 007. Get a new. Don't stop making it seem like James Bond is a living forever human being.
Well, it's I mean, the Daniel Craig one is a straight up reboot.
I know, but I don't want to reboot. I want a different person in the world. I think again, spoiled from MCU is that we get different perspectives from different type of people in the world, right? And we follow them as main characters. Couldn't we make a James Bond that instead of being James Bond being the main character, it's a different person from that area? And a different type of movie instead of being a spy, it's like I don't know.
I would like to see some James Bond spinoffs. Like I think Moneypenny would be like a really good spinoff. I think like seeing something maybe around Q would be really cool. Like I do think they could make like a James Bond like extended universe.
That actually is interesting. Have they really ever had a spinoff from James Bond?
I don't think so. Like I do know this. The production company that owns James Bond is super conservative.
That's it. I just never thought about that. Like I would actually be really interesting to like figure out what a great spinoff would be. Because I can't think of any other. I mean, there's been people that made fun of James Bond, of course, like the Austin Powers series, but that's not like a spinoff. And there's got to be there has to be books, right? That are.
I'm pretty sure there are books. I mean, there are comic books. There's a Moneypenny comic book. There's other things, but like they've never done. I mean, Ian Fleming did not write spinoffs of the James Bond series, to the best of my knowledge. And then I don't know if anyone else has done it, but there have been like there have been continuations. Like people have written books after Fleming died.
Right.
Last one I read was called Carte Blanche, like a few years ago. It was really good, and then they took the book franchise in a different direction inexplicably.
Like I would just like to see 0010. Wait, does it make sense? You know what I mean? Like a different person has a different skill set than Bond.
I mean, there are multiple double O's in.
Yeah, but they're never the main focus of the story, right? It's always a Bond movie. Like I don't want Bond in it. Like you said, like even Moneypenny would be cool or something like that. Some other movie, because that's one thing I think I like about the different views. Because James Bond's been around. What, there's 22 movies now? Is that what it is? 25 movies now? 42 movies?
24 is what I think Spectre is.
And it's always been perspective of Bond. I would love to have something that's like some other viewpoint into that world. And MCU and DC are trying to do it, for their characters. Where you watch Ant-Man, it's a very comical world, right? You watch Captain America, it's a very serious world. I would love to see what would be the equivalent to Guardians of the Galaxy in the James Bond world.
So in the new James Bond movie, he's actually retired, and there's a new 007 who's a woman.
But is it still the same style of same spy movie?
Yeah, I mean, seemingly, but they have Cary Fukunaga, I think is his last name, who did the first season of True Detective and a couple other things. So, like, there's a chance they could be going in a different direction.
Right.
I think if they wanted to keep the same direction, they probably could have kept Sam Mendes, who directed Skyfall and Spectre. And it's very rare, by the way. I think not since the Connery days have they had the same director for 2 consecutive movies.
Well, I'll probably see it eventually if I ever can leave my house and they put it on streaming and you pay $50 for me to see it.
That brings us to our main topic, which is the Predator franchise. So, Case, what prompted you? Because this one actually came from your side.
Did it?
What prompted you to have this as our main topic today?
Wait, did I? I thought you brought it up. Wait,
I didn't bring it up.
I swore you brought it up. I think we were talking about something the other day about what was the last issue about? My God, my brain is broke. I don't know why I brought it up. I think we were talking about something with Oh, I know why I brought it up. There is rumors that they're going to make a new Predator. They're going to make Predator 5, right? Is that the number we're on now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. There'll be Predator 5. They're just in talks that they should reboot the series or continue the series. And I was gonna bring it up the other day, and I think when I mentioned Predators, you're like, "Oh yeah, Predators is a great movie." And I think it was just like, "Hey, we should talk about Predator because I have some views about Predator, and just curious on your views about Predator." Specifically, I would say the first Predator and maybe just an overview of the other Predators. So go ahead.
I loved the first Predator movie. I think I saw it when I was too young somehow.
What? Bodies being hung from trees with blood pouring down.
If I recall correctly, is like one of the older kids for some reason who was like supposed to be like looking after me, like didn't want to not go see the movie because I was there, so like snuck me like under his coat somehow. And I went and saw this movie and thought it was awesome.
So I saw a lot of R-rated movies when I was too young for them because I was the youngest in the family.
That explains a lot.
Well, but being the youngest in the family, right? It's just this tendency of like, well, we all can see it, so you're watching it, because of rentals, right? So I definitely saw Predator before I saw Predator 2. Weirdly enough, we thought about Terminator I saw Terminator 2 first, then saw Terminator. But this is the one movie of the 80s where I saw Predator before I saw any other Predators. Because I think I might have saw it in the theater like you. But I think the reason why Predator works so well when it did, and I think this is what's missing in the follow-ups of this Predator, is that Predator is sold as an action flick, but it's really a horror movie. And
True.
I can point out reasons for that. So
I actually don't know if it's really sold as an action movie.
So in the 80s it is. So imagine the 80s, right? So
it's a survival horror film.
It's called an action adventure movie, is what it's actually labeled as, in a sci-fi movie. And now remember the 80s. So the 80s saw, and this is what we kind of hinted at earlier, is you saw Arnold Schwarzenegger coming in, right? The big beefy dude that like is the hero and is the central figure when saying quips and eradicating thousands of troops in commando, right? And running over everybody. You have Rambo becoming the big thing in the late 80s with Rambo 2. And it's like, it wasn't just, oh, you're in this world and you're being treated bad because you're a vet, right? We're going to free you from jail and send you to Vietnam to win Vietnam for us, right? Is what Rambo 2 basically was. And so you had the macho, big, strong dudes with like ripped bodies, or like the action of the 80s. That's kind of the standard. Even well, no, that was basically the standard at the time. And then in horror movies, they were kind of like dying off in the late 80s. What Predator came out as, the first 20 minutes of that movie, 30 minutes of that movie, is what I just described as an action movie. You have an elite squad of ripped dudes. They're all muscles, are all like sweating and oiled up, and they have this strong handshake at the beginning. They go to this like encampment of villagers to free somebody, and they just eradicate them with no problem. They're making quips, they're throwing their knives and sticking people against the wall. It's like, stick around, right? It's the same quippy action flick that you've seen time and time before. And they win, and they accomplish their goal. And then, as they find out that the CIA was kind of using them and they're just trying to leave, that's when the switch happens from quippy action movie to horror flick. But it's a horror flick that's not following the standard horror flick standards, which at the time was, hey, it's a group of teenage kids, sexually active, you know, they're going to go to the campsite and there's one person hunting them, and they'll make stupid decisions like split apart and, you know, get stabbed because they're not with each other and not protecting each other, right? And they're all like dying. And you have the last girl. Well, in Predator, not only that was Predator this evil, unstoppable menace, you had an elite group of highly trained soldiers against them, and they're failing. And they're not making dumb decisions, right? They're doing the right military decisions. And that's why I think this movie resonates on both levels. As you come into the action movie, you see that these guys are elite. And then you watch this thing that you don't even know what it is, pick them one by one until you have the last girl, which is Schwarzenegger. And Schwarzenegger is the last girl of this horror movie. And he, of course, spoiler movie for a movie back then, is able to figure out the weaknesses and defeat the Predator. In fact, the Predator blows himself up. But it's like this
thing, and then it blows itself up.
Yeah, it blows itself up. But he was able to like decay it, like he was able to like trick it into a trap, I think, right? And so it's dying, but as it's dying breath, it sets off as a nuke, and Schwarzenegger runs really fast away from it. But like the whole time, I
just remember how dirty Schwarzenegger was at the end of that. There was like clay all over him.
He had to be. So he figured out that he had the way the guy saw was with heat sensors. So he covered himself in mud to keep his body temperature low, so that the Predator couldn't see him anymore. That's why it was so dirty. But like if you rewatch this movie, you can even see the moments when the camera direction goes from action flick to horror movie, because you switch from the perspective of the heroes and you start seeing them through the Predator's eyes. You see what he's stalking, right? You see how he's going after them, where before everything was like centered on these heroes. And so you can actually watch it switch in real time with these film tricks. It's like pretty cool if you watch it again. And one of the really important scenes is, I don't know if you remember this scene. These guys are armed to the teeth, right? One even has a Gatling gun. And there's a part where there's a guy that they think they see it, and they unload all their arsenal in the jungle, like everything they own, like trees are falling, everything. And it's basically, I think I don't remember the exact quote from the director, but he's like, people expect gun porn in these action movies, and this is my anti-gun porn scene, because they basically empty out all their clips, and then nothing, they missed, because the thing they're fighting is so more advanced than them.
Yeah,
and it's like this moment, like, oh shit, you're fucked. But it's 100% like this horror movie. I know what the big switch is too. Is they get one of the characters, Sean Black's character, gets killed, and they kind of pans up when they're walking by, and you see his body hanging naked from the treetops with blood pouring down it.
Oh yeah.
And that's when it switches from the action movie to the horror movie. And I think that's it's pretty cool to see that if you watch it again. Like John McTiernan is a really good director. You might know him from Hunt for October, and from John McClane, Die Hard, right? So he's done a lot of these type of movies.
But you know what's kind of amazing about the Predator movie, right?
What's that?
And you didn't even mention it. Who played the Predator?
I don't know, actually.
This was actually one of our first conversations, if I recall
Adam
correctly.
Driver?
It was not Adam Driver.
Was it Kevin Peter Hall?
Was not. Keep guessing.
I think you're wrong. I think it was Kevin Peter Hall.
It was actually, sorry, it was Kevin Peter Hall.
I'm 100% sure it's Kevin Peter Hall. You might know him as Harry in the Hendersons. As in he's Harry.
And so I guess it was originally supposed to be Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Oh yeah, it was. We did talk about that. He runs around in a green suit thing. There's like a video of it.
Yeah, and so I guess what happens was he was too short, and Kevin Peter Hall is nearly
Yes.
7 feet tall.
Yep.
And so they decided not to do it. But I also think that Van Damme was not thrilled that they didn't really get to use his martial arts expertise.
Yeah, there's actually photos of him in like this suit, Van Damme in the suit, and it's like this really bad. It doesn't even look like the Predator at all. It looks like a swamp lizard thing. So they must have like reshot a lot after it.
What's kind of amazing is you look at the Predator, the design of the actual Predator.
It's dope.
And like visually, like it was frightening back then. It is still frightening today, and they have not made really any changes.
No, well, I guess speaking of changes, so what do you think of the rest of the Predator movies? We're both agreeing that the first one was a pinnacle of success.
I actually really liked Predator 2.
Interesting.
Like I thought, Danny Glover. I thought that movie was really cool. I really liked it.
I think I it's not as good as the Predator one. I didn't hate it. Like a lot of people hated the movie. But I also only remember 3 scenes from the movie. I can remember the whole Predator movie. I really only remember 3 scenes. Gary Busey's in it also. I remember there's that scene where he throws the discus cutting blade.
Oh yeah,
when they're in the cold room and like it cuts through like meat and then cuts through the guy. Kind of remember that scene. And this is gonna make me sound like some weirdo. And I probably saw this movie at the right time for this, but it opens up on a sex scene in like a tower of New York City. If you saw the actual,
it's LA, I think, not
LA.
New York.
Sorry, LA. Yeah, you're right. And it's just because you watch First Predator and it's a horror action movie, and then the first scene of the sequel is like this weird it's a normal sex scene in Hightower where they all get killed by the Predator, right? I just think the Predator 2 took a lot some of the mythos that I built around the Predator and Predator 1, because like he seemed to only be focusing on the people that could threaten him, where in Predator 2 he kind of wasn't always doing that. They do have the scene where the little kid is like has a toy gun, he doesn't kill the little kid, and then at the end the whole like handing him the gun that was from like the Western time period, not the 1850s or something, like the old, and you're like, oh, what's this about? What the fuck?
But like just before that scene, you actually see like when they sort of show you the Predator ship.
Yeah,
that's where you first see one of the alien skeletons.
Yeah, I know. The ruined Predator.
Ruined Predator.
Alien vs. Predators are like the worst movies ever. AVP. Oh God, they're so bad. I don't even. Do you consider Aliens vs. Predator in either the Predators franchise or in the Aliens franchise?
No, they're. But I like the fact that they coexist. I would love to see the Prometheus franchise and a Predator franchise. I'd love to see that come together.
And then, of course, there was Predators, which was the one that took place on what is that one? Wait,
on some random planet, basically.
That's what I thought too.
That's the first time you get to see predator dogs.
And I think that was trying to go back to its roots, where it's like an elite group versus a predator or predators, because that's why it's predators, because I think there's more than one predator that they're after. And I think Adrian Brody played a really good, decent main character in that, which is kind of interesting to me. Like when I first remember he was like signed in, I'm like, he's not going to be a good strong man. But I think he played really well. And then, of course, did you see the newest Predator called Predator that came out 5 years ago? You can say no and pretend it doesn't exist because it's horrible.
I did see it. Actually, did I see it? I can't tell if it's one of those things that I saw or like I saw so many recaps of. I know. I think I did see it, but I had to fast forward through a lot of it because it's like unwatchable.
Yeah, it was one of those movies where I think Shane Black came back because
Like the kid puts the that's right.
Oh,
Shane Black
right.
directed it.
The
He puts
kid.
like the helmet on.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot about the kid. Oh, you just made me hate that movie again.
It was Shane Black movies. There's always a kid. Like Iron Man 3, same thing.
Oh, you're right. There is always a kid. Yeah, because wasn't it like, and the aliens brought us a suit. Wait, wasn't it like the kid had some power that oh, no, that's right. It was even worse than that. The kid was,
Autistic.
yeah, but it was like one of those things where they play it as like, oh, this makes you like, it makes it so you're not taking the disability seriously. And so the species wants his DNA because, oh yeah, it's one of those things where if you're autistic, you're super genius. That's what the thing that they were saying was, which is not true. And so but the whole story in the Predators, the new one was the Predators, they hunt down elite other hunters to steal their DNA, to infuse it into their body so that they become better predators. And so they came to Earth to get the DNA of this kid so they become a better warriors. Oh, and the kid triggers the predators coming back because his dad sends back predator gear that he found, and he puts the helmet on. And at the end of it, they also bring a suit to us, and there's a good predator.
There's a good predator and a bad predator.
Yep, like at the end. Well, and then they bring a suit that fits humans, apparently, a predator suit for us, and that's how like the end scene was. And I think the good predator did kill some people because we thought it was a bad predator. Well, when I say we, humans thought it was a bad predator at first because it's a predator.
What was the origin of the bad predator?
He just came to Earth. Wait, which one?
I don't know.
The newest predator? The newest predator came back to Earth because the kid put on the old predator gear from Predator 1, which signaled them, hey, come to this planet and steal this kid's DNA. Or something. I don't know. It was bad. How about that? I remember seeing the trailer and I was so excited about this movie because Shane Black, for some reason, was like, all right, he can write some decent action movie. But it had like Olivia Munn in it. Michael Key was in it. So it was like those two I was kind of excited to see. Boyd Holbrook was in it. Like it had some people I was like kind of interested in seeing. Like the group of soldiers looked like they'd be fun. So overall,
what would you like to see happen in this franchise?
I wanted to go back to its roots and make it a horror movie. It's not even a reboot. Like I'd rather like it's almost a reboot. I would rather see a movie not called Predators where the predator shows up in the middle of it and changes the whole movie. I'm trying to figure out how this would happen. Because I think that's what scared you with the first Predator is you didn't even know what was hunting them. And now in the newer ones, it's like, oh, we need to show you the Predator. It's almost like he needs to take his helmet off so you can see the grotesque face, right? You have to see all this. It's like, no, it's better when it's like, treat him like he's Jason, right? You don't see him very often. And so when you do see him, it's scary as freak. And I think that's what I would like to see happen is go back to that route instead of just making it like another Thanos type character. Well, not Thanos, but another like, oh, it's just a big evil guy. We just have to shoot it a lot to kill it. How about yourself? Where do you want to go? What do you want to be? You want to be Godzilla versus Predator?
I kind of want to see. I'd like to see kind of like the origin of like the Predator. Like I want to know kind of like a little bit more about the Predator civilization. I kind of want like a little bit of like Prometheus, but for the Predator franchise.
How about it's more? We flip the script. I don't even know how this will work.
It's like told from the Predator point of view.
I was more thinking almost like aliens, where it's we send an elite group of Marines to Predator's home planet to try to like steal some tech or something or some MacGuffin to get them there. And as they're like fighting through or doing something to this, you actually get glimpses of the Predator society. Because is the warrior class, are they like, Sparta, where it's like a warrior class society, or are these hunters actually more of a rarity in their society? And these are all probably answered by comic books that we haven't read. But I think it'd be interesting to have like have this elite group moving through their villages, killing predators, and it's actually like acting like a predator in Predator world.
Hmm.
You can make it so then that way you can learn stuff about the predators. Because like I don't think the predator, like the aliens, are like almost like a virus that went out of control, right?
Sure, they were like a bioweapon or something.
Yeah, so they have an origin story, but like predators to me seem like it's a society that just turned that became what it is, and so it's hard to make an origin film of that, right? And unless you're for some reason discovering this
get the technology, like they seem like such a primitive.
Again, according to Shane Black in the newest Predators, they steal it from the people that they kill. So they advance their suits and stuff based on the people they kill. They upgrade themselves through DNA and other species. That's how they get their powers. But I agree, they're like this weird tag. They're basically like if any cyberpunk writer would have been right about our society is what we would have became. Because like the whole like the augmented body.
Yeah.
Kind of like dirty, almost.
Dirty?
I'm saying at least the hunters, when you see them, they're not like wearing white suits. They're wearing like armor and ragtag metal stuff. And, they're not wearing military. They're not wearing like dress military, right? Maybe they do at some points, but usually when you see them, they seem to be like, they look like hunters that you would see after Thanksgiving in the woods. They're like, maybe they didn't shower the day before. They have stubble and they're wearing mismatching clothing, right?
Yeah.
So are the predators an actual elite group of people from their society, or are they like what the equivalent to what a hunter is after Thanksgiving here? Like they're just going out to have fun. That would be like the thing that you want to discover, right? It's like maybe all the other predators are very nice.
They only send the jerk predators on like the runs.
Well, are these even runs, or is these just people being like, "Oh, I want to go kill an elephant because I need to mount its head on my wall"? Right? They could be what's it called when what are those trophy hunters? Like it might not even be something that's sanctioned by the government.
There's a lot of directions they can go. They just need to not go in the Shane Black direction.
Yeah,
problem solved.
Yeah, I don't think anyone thinks Predator should exist. It's out in 2018, everyone, and so it'd be amazing if they rebooted it.
What is this nonsense? You call a movie the same thing that like the original one? I hate that.
There's also two Predators in it too. Called it. I have no original ideas. The movie
Predator, the Shane Black cut.
I want someone to let John McTiernan, the director who made Predator and some other good movies, had some legal issues, did go to jail. He's out of jail now. To film an MCU movie that's a horror movie. I want a horror movie, MCU movie.
Doctor Strange could be that.
It could be. That would be a good example. There was recent.
I mean, it was the director of Insidious, right?
Yes, he was. They fired that director though. That they got that was a horror director off of the new Doctor Strange. I mean, I'm gonna say that they parted ways for conflicts in vision. There's a run on Magneto that I started reading. It's called Magneto's Vengeance. I don't know how this will work in the MCU, but it was like after some big event, Magneto's powers are basically being cut in half. Right, he's not as powerful as he was. He can't him flying long distances tires him out. So he's basically become like a vagabond that's just traveling around world, killing people that kill mutants. That's basically the story, Ryan. But it's written as like a horror flick, and it's written as in like he's like the big evil character that people are scared of, right? So like you see a lot of pictures of the aftermath of what he's done and them interviewing the people that survived and talking about this epic person. There's people that are like wearing Magneto fan clubs because of how serial killers get fan clubs because we're fucking idiots as a society. And but he's like written totally as this evil character, and you see like his inner dialogue. You know, it's like that dialogue of like, I think he believes he's right in what he's doing, but the actions he's doing is also pretty evil. But he's like selling it to himself, and he's talking intellectually, but he's not actual. But if you look at it closely, it's not very intellectual. I think they could do something like that would be pretty cool. And if it could be a Predator, that'd be even weirder, because Predator in the MCU would be really weird.
Predator in the MCU.
Guardians of the Galaxy versus the Predators. Like, what kind of ships do they have? Do they fly TIE fighters? I don't know.
What about Predator in the Star Wars franchise?
First off, speaking of the Star Wars franchise, and then we can stop talking. I hated the newest episode of Mandalorian so much. I think I hated the last 2 episodes.
So I think we need to cap case here. Otherwise,
No.
we're going to.
I'm going to give us 3 reasons.
No. Okay. Finish case then.
3 reasons, and then we'll end this. 1 reason. I think I've come to the conclusion that I hate stormtroopers in any sense of the way in any movie, except for maybe the first one and the second one. There were like 30 stormtroopers versus 2 people. They did no military-based training of attack. They all just ran out in the open towards their targets. Even when they sent up the equivalent to a Gatling gun, they did not send it in undercover. They sent it out in the open. Technically, the stormtrooper outfits are supposed to be designed to absorb any kind of physical weapon, but somehow Boba Fett, spoiler, his weapon is able to kill them. They do the stupid thing where, hey, this guy's fighting me with a big swordy thing. I'm going to run towards him with my gun in front of me and not just stand away and fire at him. It's come to a point. I understand it's a running gag in Star Wars that all stormtroopers suck, but it's come to a point that it has ruined the show for me. It was so dumb watching those stormtroopers do anything. It made me so annoyed. Second, as soon as they met together, and for some reason he's like, "You put down your sniper rifle and I'll take my jetpack off." I'm like, why are you taking your jetpack off? There's no reason in this negotiation that your jetpack would hurt them at all. You should be putting that pistol back in your holster that you're holding. But of course, in my mind, I'm like, oh, it's probably because he's going to need his jetpack later, but he would have taken it off because, because then how do you write Yoda being taken? Baby Yoda. So that annoyed the hell out of me. That it was like this obvious reason, like it would make a stupid reason for you not to have a jetpack so you can't use it later. I think I had a third reason, but I forget what it was now. That's it. So annoyed. I actually hate Star Wars again. The end. Done. And on that note, if you want to reach out to us and tell me how I'm right, you can send me a personal email at podcast@nolifekings.com. Otherwise, you're going to do something with Draves and talk to him on these other platforms.
Yeah. You can reach out to us on Instagram at NoLifeKings. And you can reach out to us on Twitter at NOK_podcast. And we are going to get all those to be the same relatively soon. We got to get on this whole
Twitter.
We have to file some paperwork with Twitter.
On that note, cheers.
Not the first time.
It's the long hair and the eyelashes are really the big eyes. I don't know if I told you this, but you know that in high school they used to call me Bambi.
You had been raised by family.
Yeah, exactly.
That makes sense.
Just like big brown eyes, long eyelashes. They used to call me Bambi. That was my nickname when I played soccer. But I played goalie, so it wasn't like I had these elegant runs and things like that. It was actually a bad name.
Yeah, she didn't manage the quick wall.
In college, they called me Floppy because my hair flops around a lot. It was a nickname that was inspired by the movie Notting Hill, because that's Hugh Grant's character's nickname. And coming to you in our ha.
And a comet fills the sky. The Holy Roman Empire rises, and you and I must die.